morning, everyone, and welcome to a weekly message from Jesus. Word of caution, next week I'm going to be coming to you 1 hour earlier. I have a doctor appointment that I cannot get out of. So we will be coming 8 Mountain Time instead of 9 Mountain Time. So our Father is ready. He has just told me that he is very ready. So let's begin. Good morning, everybody. Today I'm going to approach this a little differently. I'm going to speak to you about prodigal children. Now, I'm sure all of you have heard of the prodigal son. I just would like you to know that while it's a story, it's not one that I really spoke. I never spoke to the people in parables. I tried to speak as simply and as honestly as I could to them. I told them if they lived a good life, then they would join me in heaven. I didn't think that it was wise at those days to complicate my messages. Why would I tell stories that very few people could understand? Now, the parable of the prodigal son is a little bit different. It tells the story of a child that runs wild. The other brother stays home and does all the work. Son returns, and the father is so happy to see him that all is well and that all is forgiven. Well, life isn't like that. You are all my children, and you are all born without any knowledge of what takes place. You don't know what your life plan is. There are many things that you don't know. And that's the way I want it. I want you to learn your lessons. As my children, think of yourself as the children of how they were depicted in the parable. You're all free to go out and do what you want. You can run wild. You can sow the seeds of youth. You can make terrible, terrible choices, and many of you do. That's quite obvious. But it is a learning experience. My hope is that as you mature, you understand my miracles, you understand what I've created for you, and you understand how to live good lives. You learn to love. You learn to help others. That is what I hope. But many of you learn to hate. Many of you learn to show anger and violence. Many of you wander through life like the prodigal son, and you never, ever return to the realization of my words and my teachings. I want you to focus on your prior lives. Everyone, and I stress the word everyone, has things to be forgiven of. That's the way it is. That is part of your learning experience. You are meant to learn the difference between good and bad, the difference between anger and love, the difference between hatred and not showing that emotion that instills that in others and is shown towards you. Now the prodigal son returned and was totally forgiven. Many of you can be forgiven, but when you return, you will be told what you did wrong. You were sent back with a life plan. I tell you this all the time. When you return, you will be told how you varied from that life plan. I don't want you to get hung up or worry about the word forgiven. Religions have introduced the word forgiven to complicate how you live your lives. They want you to think that you must go to their religious organization and that their organization, and I'm using the word organization loosely here, will show you how to be forgiven and that only they can provide that forgiveness. Well, that's not true. Your personal forgiveness is in your hands. Just as in the story of the prodigal son, the son decided to return and was forgiven by his father. You are all my children, and all your children can return to the understanding of my teachings, and you will receive, I guess what you're referring to is forgiveness. What you will receive is, once you return to me, your life will not require what you are referring to as forgiveness. You will learn to show love towards others. And yes, you will learn to do unto others as you would have them do unto you. I know you've never heard that one before, so I thought I'd throw it in. But it is the foundation for happiness. It is the foundation for love. And if you want to think of it as forgiveness, it is also the foundation for forgiveness. You are all prodigal children. You have all done things that are wrong. I have expected that of you. That is part of the learning process. What is important is how you live your life from this day forward. You can make decisions to help others. You can make decisions not to show anger towards your family. You can make decisions not to show hatred. See, that is all up to you. I want my prodigal children to return to me, your father. Are you starting to understand the similarities now? You can be forgiven, and that's your own term. You can be forgiven for many things. For instance, the woman who became impregnated at an early life, thought there was no way that she could ever raise that family. She had an abortion. Well, that was very, very wrong. If you listen to my messages, you understand just how negatively I feel towards abortion. It's killing the baby. I told you I wasn't going to use the word. I was just going to refer to it as killing the baby, but I slipped, I guess. That woman can understand she did wrong. And in her own terms, she can be forgiven for it. When she returns, the judges, her guides, will tell her what she did wrong. But she will not be harshly punished because she understood that she had to return to my teachings and understandings. She is a prodigal child returned. Why is it so difficult to understand the difference between good and bad? I know, I sent you humans back with great tests. I see many of you fail in those tests, but I see many, many more excel. I want you to excel. I want my prodigal children to return to me, to understand my words, my teachings, my need for love and coexistence, and that will affect how you're judged. You must understand that all of you have done things that are against my teachings. That's part of life. That is the way of things. That is the way that you make life decisions. That is the way that your guides will look at you when you return. They will point out what you did wrong. We all do things wrong. But what is important is how many things they point to you and say, you have done magnificently. You have helped others. You've loved your family. You've done all these great things. That's what is truly important. The prodigal children must return to their father. And there is no more forgiving than God. That is what I do. That's my job, I guess. I can describe this in many, many different ways. But you must understand that you have to understand what you have done wrong in your lives and stop doing it. Just simply stop doing it. Make each day when you get up the first day of the rest of your life, because that's what it is. How you use the remainder of your life is what is most important. You can worry. You can look back. You can say, oh my, I will never be forgiven. I've been terrible. I've done things that God just hates me for. Well, guess what? I don't hate. Hate's a human trait. I guess today I might have mixed up a few of you. I hope so. I want to make you think about things. I hope that you've noticed that my messages are becoming a little more complicated. You see, when I walked the earth, I had to speak to the people of a very low educational level. We had no schools. I spoke to the poor. But now I've given you technologies, I've given you education, so I expect a little more out of you. Why would that shock anyone? Think about what I've said today. Think about yourself as prodigal children that can return to the Father for forgiveness, because you can. Forgiveness is what you make it. You'll realize when you return home that your guides will show you. They will teach you, and you will totally understand. I'm just trying to help you get there. You'll get there, but I want you to get there and be joyous. So thank you for listening. I guess I was a little more long-winded today, but I want you all to understand just how easy it is to live a good life. So goodbye. I will return to you again next week, and we'll see what I talk about, but you'll have to check in to hear it. Goodbye. I bless all of you as I do every week. Thank you for listening, and we will meet again. Thank you, Father. Another very interesting message. Okay, we're going to be back an hour earlier if you want to listen live, but everything will be up for live streaming. So you tune in at 9, you can hear the same thing. Plus, it's all on our YouTube channel. So thank you for listening. We will be back again next week. God bless all of you. Please tell your friends about us. Tell them about our YouTube channel. Tell them about God. We'll see you next week.